Hey, this is Tom Calvin. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as Tomorrow's Legends.
Oh yeah, we don't have an intro this week. I was thinking I could just do, Mick, like, why is it I'm always trying to save you guys? You're always getting in trouble.
Cranky Mick.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
Because it actually does kind of make sense. Mick is always the one saving everybody.
Yes, he usually is. Yay, Mick.
Well, hello, Legendaires. Welcome to Tomorrow's Legends. We're here for episode 6 of season 6 called Bishop's Gambit, and I am the Flash.
I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
Yes. Ooh, there's some news on the pipeline here. All right, I think I got something just right for that.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
What is going on the news waves here?
I will start, although I did not get a chance to watch this episode. But
I did.
I figured you would, Jeff. So I'm going to just say what it is, and then I'll let you maybe give a quick synopsis.
All right.
But Diggle returned to the Arrowverse yesterday. Yay.
What? Okay, tell us about it.
So he returned in Batwoman's episode 16 called Rebirth. And I did not get a chance to watch it, but Jeff did. So, Jeff, what was his role? What happened?
So he was a bit of an encouragement to Luke. He was in Gotham. It turns out he is dealing with some pain. He offered Luke some prescription pain pill because Luke got beat up. But turns out he was in Gotham because he was seeing a neurologist, I believe. And so it was cool to see him. It was cool to see him give some good Diggle advice to Luke, but it was not enough for my taste. Not nearly enough dig in the episode. We needed more dig, more advice, and I appreciated any bit we get. And so...
Yeah.
We know he is going to be in the Legends episode of Stressed Western in 2 weeks. And then we're not sure it's either going to be Flash or Superman and Lois. And then the last one he'll be in is in Supergirl. So in their final run, he'll make his that appearance there. So good to see him on screen, though. Always good to see Dig.
Yay.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, if you think about it, Diggle is the sole piece of this puzzle that connects everything together, right? Like, it was Oliver, now it's passed on. That's the mantle that was passed to Diggle, so that's very cool. It is unfortunate to hear that he didn't have as big a role, because they made a big to-do about this, that Diggle's visiting all the TV shows. Well, all right, let's get something big from him. Like, I want to hear something about a cool story that started up. Like, what's happening? Why is he visiting all of the heroes on all of the shows? There's got to be a reason for that. And I hope it's not just, here's Diggle, and, this is how you make your life better. All right, next show, moving on. Like, it better be more than that.
Yeah, I hope so. It seems like, at least the way of looking between Batwoman and Legends, it's going to be totally different reasons. So because it's going to be in the Western episode. So I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
next up, we've got some Stargirl news. So thanks to Abby for putting the first trailer for the new season in our Facebook group. and it looks really cool. We've got the introduction of a new character for our series of Jade, who is the original Green Lantern Alan Scott's daughter. And Alan Scott's Green Lantern powers, just to refresh people's memory, is magic based, not like the traditional Green Lanterns. And his two kids inherit powers. And so she's got powers. She also has a ring in the comics. I'm going to throw in the Facebook group I put in today the wiki about her and her powers. And Jade is going to be played by Isa Pina Rejo. And so she's had some other roles, but this is going to be, I think, a bigger one for her. And the trailer just looked really cool. I'm really excited about what they're going to bring for season 2.
Me too.
Did you watch it, Jess?
The trailer? I have not watched the trailer yet. I will, but I am excited for season 2, just from everything I've been hearing and reading. But
how long is this trailer roughly, Jeff? Like a minute kind of thing?
Yeah, it's not like big, but it does give you a feel of basically Court is trying to hold the JSA together, and the other members just think everything's over now, and they want to hang up their capes. And we get the threats of several big bads, so it looks really cool.
Just when we thought they were learning how to work together. Oh,
cool. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. Maybe we should have to properly prep for tonight to be able to talk about it, but it is just in our news section. We can maybe break it down before Stargirl comes out and talk about our theories and possibilities that we might think be coming from it. So yeah, we'll save it for then.
Yep,
yeah,
definitely.
There'll probably be another trailer before, as it gets closer, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, well, let's move into our ratings and reviews for this episode, Bishop's Gambit. We'll kick it off with X-Force. What'd you think about this one?
I gave it 8.5 compelling clones. I was not in for the whole John holding back his power loss from the Legends storyline. After we've seen so much transparency in Superman and Lois, I'm like, oh, come on. But then I was enjoying what's going on with Sara and Bishop because of the ins and outs of that and of Spooner's storyline. So that's what kind of brought it up. But I thought it was a decent episode after our funny Legends episode last week. So
Yes, I am actually right there with you. I gave this one an 8.5. Endings I did not see coming. So I was enjoying this episode, but I wasn't sucked into it, needing to know what happened until it really got down to the end. I really liked all of the scenes of Spooner confronting the alien because all of that was really intense, and I kind of like scenes like that, and it, kind of had me a little bit on the edge of my seat for sure. And then I'm still not threatened by Bishop at all, but I am more curious about his methods and his plans. I just want to know, what makes this guy tick. I want to know his backstory. I need to know more. But then I think what really did it for me was the reveal at the end, because that had my jaw on the floor. That is what fully, I was going to give this a 7.5 until that occurred. I was just like, whoa, what? Yeah.
See, I can't combine it like that, because to me this episode was, it was a 6 missed opportunities, because the entire episode I thought was, I actually fell asleep and had to rewind it a couple times because I was so bored. This one, the entire stuff with John and everyone at his house, we did not need that at all. Wipe that out of this episode. Completely useless, completely stupid, not even funny, not even entertaining, just complete wasting my time when I could have been watching something else. Like I'd even watch Fear the Walking Dead, which is not that good a show over that. It was awful. But the very last 2 minutes, with the big reveal, that alone gets a 9. And it's like they brought in different writers to just say, wait a second, we're going to write your ending for your episode, and they wrote the ending. They should have wrote the whole episode, because that surprise reveal, and for what I'm seeing online and our Facebook page, absolutely almost everybody is completely pissed off about it. They hate that ending, which I'm surprised about, because to me, I'm with you, Harley. That was a complete whoa. Now that kicks this show in the tail that it needed. That was a moment. Let's mix things up. Let's spice it up. Let's throw them something that they don't see coming. And I can't wait to talk about that part of the episode. But I mean, what I'm talking about with missed opportunities is I was so looking forward to some time with Mick and Kayla, and they dropped the ball on that big time. Nothing happened. They show up, Mick goes off, guns a-blazing, gets captured. Done. Story's over. What the heck? You could have done so much with these two. We could have gotten an adventure with them and some great storytelling and some great humorous moments, and there was nothing there. It was so shallow. I was so feeling let down and disappointed by that. And there just is not enough there to give it a high rating for me, other than the last 2 minutes. And that's all I really want to talk about, is the last 2 minutes, because that brings up all kinds of speculation and what the heck is it going to do to the rest of our show. And yeah, so there you go.
Well, I've got some ideas, but they're technically spoilery if you don't watch trailers or look at episode titles. So,
which I haven't. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's see what you guys got, and I'll see where I can fit in the mix here.
All right. So, kicking it off with Team Legends. Constantine is so fed up with the Legends. I mean, Bayrod is ordering pizza. Nate is borrowing his guitar. Spooner's setting traps for aliens. He's just totally done with it. They're invading his space, and he's just totally done with it.
Yeah, I kind of noted about that too, because like it was just kind of funny. He was just so over it. They're just completely making themselves at home. Just like, they just sort of like replaced the Waverider like with his house, and they're not acting at all like it's his house. And so, yeah, he's like super not happy about it. I felt
it's like they think they've welcomed him on the Waverider and he can come and go as he pleases. They figure they could just do the same in his house, and
yeah.
I mean, I was annoyed for him, just looking at the way they were all behaving. I'm like, man, I would kick him out. Just like, you are not welcome guests. You're not being respectful at all. That was annoying.
I did find it interesting that they did take Gideon out of the ship. So we see this component that they basically Ava wires into a 1970s TV so that we can get Gideon. And it just reminded me of Max Headroom from the old TV show, and with her glitching and everything like that. And I just thought it was funny that they took her out of the ship. They didn't just clone or make a copy. They just took her totally out of the ship. But I don't know, if you're leaving it with Mick and Kayla, better safe than sorry.
So is she actually not on the Waverider with Mick at all? There's the entire Gideon is that with them there? I couldn't tell. They didn't explain it at all. I laughed it was Max Headroom, but then I had way too many questions and it just took me out of it. I'm like, how can they connect it to 1950s tech or whatever? Like, it makes no sense. This is futuristic tech. There's no way she should be able to hook it up. It was too wacky for me. So even then, she looked creepy as hell. I mean, even Patty Spade was like, ugh, I don't like that. She's eerie to look at.
Yeah. Well, kind of going to our next point, I'm assuming that Gideon is totally out of the ship because Amelia alien stole the ship and brought the Waverider to Earth. So I think that Gideon would have stopped that if she wouldn't have allowed, and because she, we can see that she can be overridden with codes, but if she's totally not there, then I think it would have been easy for Amelia just to steal the ship. So that's my thoughts.
That makes sense, but they've never explained this before in 6 seasons. That we've never known that Gideon is contained within a little capsule. Like they've never showed that's her whole processing unit or whatever. So I think that's where the disconnect is for me. That there was nothing leading up to this that this could be even done, and I think it would have been more acceptable for me if there was something connecting it to all the years past that this is possible, because it's just weird.
Yeah, well, they're probably not going to explain that at all. But I did find the gag amusing, and then with the max headroom style for Gideon, that was pretty funny. And then like the Amelia Earhart alien steals the ship, so I'm assuming that Kayla probably piloted the Waverider and not Mick, since there's no Gideon. And then the alien the inner part of Amelia Earhart must know like somewhat how to fly something. So I guess so. That's how they ended up back on Earth. But just sort of hand wave that away a little bit, I guess. Just to talk a little bit about the story with Amelia Earhart, like the beginning here, where they were kind of like going back through all of her story for the benefit of the legends. That I didn't so much care for, because that's where it started to feel like really repetitive, because we've already seen it and we knew everything that would happen. So they drew that out just a little bit too much for me. They could have shortened that up and done something different with it. But what I did find interesting that we kind of get out of all of these scenes is that Bishop is actually who created the Amelia alien kind of hybrid. So I was like, that's interesting, because then that sets up some really interesting stuff with Spooner later in the episode.
I missed that little tidbit. I mean, I guess it makes sense because he's a genetic engineer, so he's obviously mixing and matching and experimenting with things. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was in the flashbacks when they were, and when Astra does her like interrogation or whatever, you see the flashes of memory, and then you finally, one of the final ones you see before Amelia Earhart is completely burned out of the creature is Bishop like operating on her.
Yeah, I mean it I had to stop it. You could, but because it had the surgical gear and that kind of stuff on, so it wasn't real evident there. So
it wasn't obvious, no.
Yeah, so but it makes me wonder though, is what happened to her co-pilot?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he died, or maybe he's another alien hybrid somewhere. Yeah,
that's my question. I'm wondering if he was unsuccessful, or if we will see him. And then I had this fleeting thought of, what if somebody else was operating on Amelia and Bishop actually is her, her co-pilot that has been, co-opted. But that was just a fleeting thought. I was just like, no, that didn't work.
I'm not sure that does work, but that would be interesting. They have made sure to repeat her story several times, and I'm wondering if there's something to that, because otherwise, like I said, it was very repetitive for no reason.
Well, and I thought she was a one-off. All right, yeah, she's the alien that got Sara sick.
Yeah.
Okay, the fact that they brought her back again, and like it just, I don't know what's going on there, but it was a little gross with her sticking her little tentacle thingy out of her mouth and being all zombified. Yeah, it was, but
yeah. So we had Spooner and Bayrod being bad cop, Bayrod cop, and I was thinking all along, okay, Amelia's gonna get Bayrod alone and then just totally alien out on him, because she's very tricky. The alien inside is tricky, and I'm thinking he's going to get attacked or something like that, but they went a totally different way. But it was interesting to see, because she had been drugged to keep her calm, but Spooner's like, we've got to get more answers, so she ups the caffeine, and between that and Ava's provoking, we get the alien kind of revealing the dual nature, and that was kind of interesting to see that there was there was still stuff of Amelia there, but it seems like it's being overwritten, and so it was kind of it brought up a lot of points that moved some stuff along, especially with Spooner. But it was interesting to see how that happened.
Yeah, no, for sure, because that was like definitely setting up everything for Spooner. But what was interesting to me is early in the beginning where we just see that like Spooner's alien radar kind of like goes in and out. And so, I mean, even learning that it's a hybrid, it's still odd to me that like she could mask the alien nature. That I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So we need some answers, and John is not telling others about the loss of his powers, so Astra is doing the magic to bring out and connect and to the alien there, but it cost her. She was connected. I'm still thinking there's going to be some lasting effects to that connection that may come back, because John was telling her to disconnect, and she really got whammied. But Zari knows John well. We don't know how long in our time that this relationship's been going on, but she obviously at the beginning of the episode knows that he needs to get out, get away, get a good breakfast, and she is seeing that there's something different about him, and we think Astra's going to reveal it, but no, she covers up for him, and I'm like,
same old CW garbage, and this was just really, really bothering me. We've seen it far too many times on all the other shows, and we hate it every time. Just keep it away from Legends. There hasn't been as many instances of it on Legends, but really, it's just dumb. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care for these parts as much either. But what confused me is, I guess I thought when I saw the end of last episode, for some reason I thought everybody knew his magic was gone. So this was a surprise to me when he revealed that no, I didn't tell anybody. It's just Astra that knows. I thought for some reason everybody knew, but I guess I misinterpreted that.
Well, because he's in the room with everybody when the spell got cast. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
weird,
but anyway, I mean, that's where we're at, for better or for worse.
Yeah, the only part that I actually found humorous is when Astra's sitting on the couch. She's like, John, she knows. Like, just tell her. And like, he's still trying to play coy, and Zari totally had him figured out. And Astra's just like, quit being an idiot. She knows. Like, you're not fooling her.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I didn't catch on the first watch, but caught today when I was rewatching, is I'm thinking like, well, he's got some magic because he sets his thumb on fire, but then I catch that Astra actually mumbles the spell to set his thumb on fire, and I was like, oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, he's completely depowered. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how and when if he gets any of it back or not. But yeah, at the moment he's got nothing.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to learn it. He's got to read the books and practice the spells, just what Astra's doing. I don't know why he's not. Why is she the one sitting there doing all the practicing? He should be doing it too.
Yeah, I agree.
That would be suspicious, and he's not telling anybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
But I've got a clip for that. Explain nothing. Explain nothing.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed this aspect of Spooner and the alien, because the alien comes full out of Amelia and starts hissing, and Spooner responds back, and then she's watching the footage, and she's really thinking, okay, this is what happened to me, because I know the language, and she's really starting to question, was she just experimented on and let go, or was she transformed like Amelia? And I like that a whole lot.
I do too, and it makes a whole lot of sense, but I love that it just has us questioning everything. Like, I don't know if this is the route they're going to go or not. I mean, they've set it up so they can go that route, or I can see it just completely being a red herring, and I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, but I like the fact that it's calling everything into question, because that I like that so much more, because it gives us more to think about and more to like speculate about. And I love the development of her powers in this episode, because I noticed right away when she screeched back at the alien. I was like, oh, she's like communicating back. So that's like another level up. It's like each episode, because she's more and more exposed, she like levels up a little bit. But now I'm like, okay, well, maybe she really is an alien, because there's no tech in her head. So is that why there's no tech in her head? So I just love that this storyline, it turned into something that actually made me want to like think about it and theorize about it. So, yeah. And I loved the scenes. They were very intense. They were creepy. They were really well done.
I am really on the other side of the fence from you guys in this. I could care less. Spooner's not doing anything for me, and watching her scream back, I thought she looked ridiculous. The whole scene I just thought was ridiculous. I was like, whatever. Next. So I'll let you guys talk about it. I don't want to drag you down on that one.
Yeah, I wonder, like I said, I don't have a feeling one way or another, but whether she's going to be an alien or it's just her powers growing. I'm there to see some development in her character. I did actually enjoy Bayrod giving her some advice of being in the moment.
Yes.
And I like that, for once, getting some good advice, from Bayrod. But it will be interesting to see. But the alien draws her in and uses her unsurety to to get out, basically, or want to get out. And the alien thinks Sara is dead and that it killed Sara. And that's what the alien tells Spooner, and then Spooner passes along to Ava. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, this is not true. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. And then we have, well, it's true from a point of view after we see the ending. So I just thought that was, but that's heartbreaking for Ava and the Legends, though, because they don't know any better at the moment.
I know. Well, how's that go in Star Wars from a certain point of view?
I'm very proud of you for that, Harley.
Yeah, I've been listening to too many of your podcasts.
You can't listen to too many. Not enough.
Sorry, I've been listening to all of them. That's a lot of Star Wars for me. But anyways, that's like a total tangent. But yeah, I know that reveal. I was just like, oh, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. And then the end happens. I was like, oh my God. So we could talk about that when we get there. But yeah, I liked how those scenes, I think that maybe part of it is how like the intensity of that was building up, and then like the intensity between Sara and Bishop was building up, and then just when you think she's won, and just when we're like, don't tell Team Legends that she's really dead, we find out she's really dead.
Well, that's was because we just brush it off like, whatever, she's lying, she's just trying to set them up, she's just trying to give them bad news just because, like, you just don't want to trust anything. So we didn't even take any, we took it with a grain of salt. We didn't put any weight into it at all. And just threw it, whatever, brushed it off. Stupid thing that she said.
Yeah.
Never connected it to the end of the episode at all.
Well, I fully believe that the alien thought she had killed Sara, because was her intention. Right. And, she wouldn't know any better. She would just assume that Sara would die from the poison. And we're like, no, Bishop cured her. No, apparently he didn't. But anyways, more on that later. Let's chat a little bit about what we had going on with Mick and Kayla this episode.
Okay. So I really think Mick has met his match in Kayla. we find out that she's over 300 years old because she got the ship from her father when she was 300. So we have no clue how long these aliens' lifespan is. And granted, on their planet, their rotation, as she calls it, could be very quick compared to Earth, so it could be different. But we learn that she is smart. I would call her conniving more than smart.
Yeah.
She's always got her agenda, and
Always got a plan.
Yep. So I thought it was interesting to see this pair, and once again, I was kind of like you, Flash. I was disappointed that we didn't get more, but I did think it's an interesting start.
Well,
Yeah.
I like the two of them together, and that's why I wanted so much more. I thought we could just have a fun adventure with them, even spend 5-6 minutes of the episode of them traveling to the planet and see what's going on between the two of them. Watch this relationship developing, you know. I thought it would have been a lot of fun, but nope, it just, the first shot you get is the ship flying into the atmosphere. There they are. I'm like, oh man, they're already there. Like, I was expecting a full-on, you know, Mick and Kayla kind of. It was going to be half the episode. Like I said, get rid of the Constantine House stuff. Have it split between Mick and Kayla and Sara on the planet. Split the episode up that way. Not try to fit all three storylines in. Because it just broke it up. There wasn't enough time to really spend on the three stories. But yeah, I like those two together. I wanted more.
Yeah, I like the two of them together too. And what I thought it was interesting to learn, because we get a lot of little like drops out of Kayla's dialogue, like if we were all paying attention. And I think one of the more interesting things she said is that Bishop is terraforming the planet, so that's how they can actually like breathe the atmosphere. And so I was kind of glad that just wasn't like a convenient plot point that they just so happened to land on that planet. Although, of course, now that we learned that like Bishop is human and he was searching for a planet, like that would have made sense had he found like an Earth-like planet, or at least like with an atmosphere similar to that. But I thought that this was kind of like a interesting way to go about it, especially because he has like the whole like pyramid barrier thing. We see them fly through it. And like when you see that in the beginning of the episode, I was like, wait, what is the deal with that? And then we eventually learn that that's his like little barrier. So to me, that's not really truly like terraforming the planet if he's just sort of like set up a perimeter where he's made it habitable, or like made it like an Earth-like atmosphere. So I was like, okay, so like that was like an interesting take on it to me. Like, it's not true terraforming. If it was truly terraforming, it would be happening to the whole planet.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, when you first saw that pyramid thing, I thought it's a force field. I mean, every other science fiction space show, it's a force field.
Yeah.
And they fly right through. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly.
And then later you find out it's just his little barrier that keeps the killer atmosphere out, and then they can survive within it. So, okay, that was cool.
So Mick goes in, guns a-blazing, and gets captured by the Avas. And that's, not surprising. Seeing Ava threw him off, and Kayla is no help. She's not in it. She brought him to the planet, and that's all she cares about. She wants to get back to the ship, and that just really doesn't happen because the ship flies away. But later on, we see her scouting out her old ship, and knowing that it needs the energy, she's scouting out the energy pods, and she sees Gary there, and Gary is her distraction, and she doesn't care about either Gary or Mick. She just wants to get off the planet. And I'm just like, okay, where are we going with this? Are we going to get to see her redeemed or not? I'm just like, okay, whatever. We've seen this before. So
Yeah, we kind of have seen it a little bit before, which was interesting. But I did kind of find it amusing that she had a pretty good plan up until the end. The one thing she didn't bank on, which I loved that Mick did, was the fact that the barrier would go down.
Yeah, we see Mick earlier preparing with his oxygen mask, and even though she says it's okay, he still carries it with him, and I love that that he is always prepared. He trusts nobody but himself.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it makes you think: is that his training as Kronos, or is that him because he like watches movies or just knows like, hey, I've never been to space before. I'm on another planet. I better be prepared to breathe, oxygen. Because I just like it. It just shows Mick's not a dummy. He figures it out, and like you said, he trusts nobody. So,
Yeah.
So he ends up getting out of the trap there. He is able to cut the ropes, and he is on his way back, and he realizes he's not going to be able to get the energy containment unit because it's too heavy, and so he shares his oxygen, and we have this whole back and the forth with Kayla on their way to the ship, and they're getting tracked by the aliens, and they end up getting in the ship, and they can't get the doors closed, so they get in the pod, and we get a little romance for Mick there. So I titled it "Caught in a Pod Romance."
I mean, okay, it's funny. We've been waiting for that to happen, but
Yep.
I find it funny because we know what she truly looks like, and Mick does too. So I just don't understand where the attraction can you can't think past that. But what made it just kind of I guess almost an adult moment was when you see the tentacles slap up against the steamy glass, and you hear Mick go, "Oh yeah!" It's like, oh man, what are you into, Mick?
Dude loves himself some aliens. We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. As soon as they got stuck, I was like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. I don't mind. I mean, I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew it was going to happen the minute they introduced Kayla. So
Yeah, it was totally funny. It's just what a moment.
Yeah. So now we get to the fun part, the one that we've been wanting to see more of. So we find out that Bishop is a clone, but unlike the Avas, there's only one clone at a time. So that's interesting.
I'm claiming because I called it how many episodes ago? I said he's a clone. So ding, one for me. I knew it.
Yep.
take it.
But yeah, this whole one at a time thing is interesting. So it makes me wonder. Okay, you only clone yourself one at a time, and then transfer your memories and everything from one clone into the next. But is there always one there just waiting? Like, is there like an empty body just waiting for him to transfer his mental consciousness into? Or because when you think of a clone, are the clones? I get this mixed up with how Star Wars does clones. They still have to grow clones from embryos to babies to they got to grow them. So how does his clone it? Does he clone it and it's a full-on adult? Boom, there's the clone made. I want to see the process of how he makes his clones. Because that would take a lot of time. If he's doing one at a time, what if something happens to him while the clone is still only at an infant stage or something? But you can't transfer it. Like, it's going to take 30 years for the infant to get to the stage where it can know as much. That's why I'm wondering. So I have a feeling that his clones are full-on adult replicas somehow.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense because we see one later in his office area that's full-on ready. And in last episode, Nurse Ava says, "Go ahead and kill me. There'll be somebody to, another Nurse Ava to replace me by this afternoon."
Yeah.
So it sounds like they are going full-on adult, and so
Yeah.
But he brings up the point to Sara that his memories and really his personality is cloned into the new version. So there's no learning curve. And so that is very, very, it brings up a lot of points because that one makes the Avas able to jump in the roles really quickly because he's basically got them downloaded. but that makes him more intriguing too, because you've got to think there's got to be some way to like constantly back up his memories. Because I'll bring up the current X-Men line again, because Cerebro is constantly backing up all of the mutants so that if one dies, they come back with all the memories except what has happened since that last backup. So he's got to have some type of method that is constantly, backing up his memories so that he has everything there when that new clone awakens. So it's intriguing.
Yeah, because if you think about it, when Sara broke his neck, he didn't have time to go back himself up into the new clone. So how does the new clone then suddenly come out and be caught up to that point in time already? There should be a gap of missing, so that there must be something that he has on him that is somehow organically downloading constantly into the clone, so the clone comes out and it's perfectly up to date from the moment he dies. Because that there's a little disconnect there that doesn't actually make sense. Because if he is just a human, how is he keeping it upgraded constantly? If a moment like, because I don't think he expected Sara to break his neck in that exact point of time. So how is he prepared to have the next clone ready? It's a little confusing, but still cool. Like the idea that he does clone himself one at a time, and there's always one waiting in the wings. I mean, that this is where we're starting to get into some cool aspect of sci-fi, and a different way of looking at cloning. Because we have the Ava clones, which is very typical cloning. They're all the same. They all look the same. And then we have the Star Wars type clones, same thing. They're all the same. But he's doing it a little bit differently. So it's a bit of a twist, and it keeps that part of the story at least a little more interesting. Because I'm with you, Harley. I still don't like this guy. There's nothing about him that is engaging. His story is, but his character is just not engaging to me. I want so much more from him. He's not threatening. He's not scary. He's not. He's annoying. Is more what it comes down to.
I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't say that I don't find him engaging, but I definitely don't find him threatening at all. So I think he's a very odd villain to have, if I guess he even really is our villain. I don't feel like we have necessarily a true villain, but I am curious about the story and about all of the things that his cloning brings up, because the first thing to me that immediately comes to mind, and this was referenced on something that I think we've all watched recently, but the Ship of Theseus. Is that ringing any bells for anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Ship of Theseus.
Yes, it's a thought experiment that raises the question of basically whether an object, if it's had all of its components replaced, is it essentially still the same object? Where did they bring that up, Jeff? What was that?
Oh, it's in
WandaVision. Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh, so good.
Okay, well, I'm only 2 episodes in on that.
Oh, you'll get there, and when you get there, let us know. But that's that. Okay. Oh, it's so good, so good. Okay, I will say nothing more on that connected to WandaVision, but it brings up that whole idea, because they've replaced all of the components of Sara or Bishop with technically new components, but it retains its original memories. So is it still Sara? Is it still Bishop? That's what fascinates me about this whole thing.
Yeah, and the other thing is I put, I was taking notes as things go about, and I put that, Bishop's easily manipulated by Sara. But then there's that whole twist on that he knows what Sara really is, and he is not too concerned if he's being manipulated, because he knows the end game. So that's what's interesting, is because we're seeing more behind the scenes now, that he talks with her and says, I was going to show you all this after supper.
Yes.
So she's just moving up his time plan, But that's what I find interesting is there's more to him than what we've been led on to see, and so it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here now that she knows. But we got to see a new Ava clone this episode. His assistant / baker, Ava, who's a groovy type 70s type chick and or 60s type chick, and she seems to care for her clone sisters because she's not happy when Bishop's wanting to take down the barrier, and it's possibly going to cause a lot of them to die.
Yeah, it was going to kill all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I will get more into that later. But we see Bishop's kind of decent fighter, and we learn that he's had his pain receptors taken down, but he's still no match for Sara. And the way that they did the commercial break, I'm like, did she just kill him? Right. And I'm like, that makes no sense. You're getting rid of your advantage, but we find out that's not the case after the commercial break. So Flash, has us beat there, so he doesn't have to wait.
Doesn't have to wait. But yeah, that was another well-timed one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know where your commercial breaks are, so I don't even know where things are stopping for you. It flows right through 42 minutes straight for me. So yeah,
nice.
I'm not sure where you guys are going. What? And I'm just going along.
Kind of does make a difference.
But yeah. But she is using him to escape. So she's using his handprints, and she left one good eye so that
that was funny. The way she's dragging him around, like he was completely limp and he's still talking.
Yes.
But she's using his hand, and then she grabs his face and slams it into the eye scanner. And that was a great scene. It looked like she was actually dragging the actor around, which takes a lot of effort to do. Yeah, I don't think he was helping her in any way there. So that was a pretty well done scene for them to, just to physically perform that part, because he played limp really well, and she was actually muscling him around. So I was quite impressed with that whole sequence, and it was funny. So
yeah. Well, Jeff, you brought up a point that got me thinking while you were talking about he modified his pain receptors, and he also wholeheartedly believed Sara. Now, we assumed it was because he was gullible, because we didn't know Sara wasn't Sara. What if he modified her slightly in the clone version, and he was expecting this behavior to be a result of said modification?
Expecting which behavior? Her to be so compliant with him?
Yes. Her to be buying into his plan and ready to join Team Bishop.
So she fooled him without knowing she was fooling him. Really?
Maybe.
Well, here's my logic on saying that that's not the case. Because the moment that she wakes up after being healed, we think she was a clone, and she was wanting to take out the nurse, so I don't think he's modified, because I think he really wants her strength, and he admires who she is, and he's not going to modify that, because he's looking for something other than an Ava clone.
True.
He's looking for something more that Ava was created. We haven't seen yet that he modeled her on somebody else. So he's looking for somebody who is like him, and I don't think he manipulated her in that way. So that's my thoughts.
No, I mean, definitely possible. It just got me thinking. I was like, I wonder, but you never know.
And you know what's interesting is if you think back now to that episode where she first shows up in his little chamber there, and she's all in pain and hurting, and he's like, "Oh, you've been poisoned by such and such. Well, here, I've got the antidote." And remember, I made the joke about because he's like, "You got 10 seconds to live," and then he talks for 30 seconds. If you go back to that scene, He hands her the glass of green juice, and she drinks it, and then she falls over. That we witnessed Sara dying. That was her death scene. She died right there. And like you said, the next moment when she wakes up, well, she woke up in the clone's body. The clone is what woke up, and she. So if you think about it, because we never knew that, that was the moment Sara dies, and we saw it full on. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I love her speech to him about learning from her scars. I mean, it was so powerful because we know her history. We know what she has been through and how she's been brought back and how hard that was, and just how much she's gone through from Arrow through Legends. And just to see that Bishop turn that around and say, I don't see any scars.
I know.
And just as
that moment.
That was so
Did you guys clue in when he said that? Did you go, oh, she's a clone? Like, before she walks over to the blanket and pulls it back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And then we get the official reveal.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the best line he's had. And it just that moment. That one gave me chills. That's why I say I give that scene alone as a 9, probably a 9.5. Maybe even a 10. I mean, that scene was so perfectly executed. Because we have not had a breathtaking scene like that in a long time that just completely took us off. We usually see things coming. We usually have things figured out. And that one, no, not even close. And yet the signs were there. If you look back, the signs were there. We probably could have figured it out. If we go back and look at everything, it takes a pretty fine-tooth comb, but I think we probably could have figured it. Just it was such a good scene, and it just, what a moment. And then, like you said, to get the confirmation of it too, and it makes me think, and this is where I had all my thoughts, because it makes me think of so many things. That now leaves us with Mick being the only original member left. In actuality, he's the only original member left on the show now, because it's not our Sara anymore. So that's one point that comes up. Now, the other point that I want to get your guys' thoughts on is, how is this going to affect her and Ava together? I mean, the joke is, well, at least they got something in common now. They're both clones. Yay! But does it change? Now that they are both clones, does it change anything? Once Ava finds out about that, I wonder what it's going to do there, and I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts there?
I think it's actually going to make it easier, because the point is we are more, and Sara talked with the nurse clone about this earlier, that we're more than just our bodies. We're more than just what we were created. So I think it's going to work on the same level of, hey, listen, this is how you were created, but that doesn't define who you are. And even though Sara has been recreated, it doesn't change who she is, because he cloned the personality as well. And so I think it's going to make it easier because Ava's gonna see those clones and start to question herself. But then when we hear the interaction of Sara kind of revealing, I think it's going to strengthen that relationship rather than question it. But I think there will be some questioning still, but I think it's going to make it easier for the two of them in the long run. But Harley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that was well said, and I think that's kind of a good point, about them both being clones. But we're also a bunch of time travelers. I'd be shocked if we don't try and attempt to save the original Sara. So I think I think what'll be interesting is at the end of the season, which Sara do we have?
Ooh, yeah, good point. Good point.
Well,
That's kind of.
and the reason I want to ask because Sara fights hard for Ava to just be herself. You're not just a clone, but I don't think she ever considered herself to be in this. I don't think she's ever put herself in Ava's shoes, and now she is, and we know Sara, and she just gave that speech, which we'll come to. That's in her favorite scenes.
Yes,
but she just gives that speech about, my scars, make me who I am. And now he's removed all that. He's essentially, he may have downloaded her consciousness into this clone body, but he got rid of what made her Sara. And she's not going to be happy with that. She just gave the speech. Now you take that away from her, she's not going to be happy being a clone. She's not going to want to stay that way. And you bet she's probably going to try to find a way to figure it out. That's the one way I can look at it. The other way I could look at it is like, well, wait a second. He just basically made Sara immortal. He's figured out how to clone her. Now she'll never die because there'll always be a backup of her somewhere. So he's just made her immortal, essentially, just like he is. So that's like, that's the positive I can take from that. But the negative is I don't think she's going to like that. She doesn't want that because of what she just said to him.
Yeah. But the question still remains, does the body make the person, or does the soul, does the identity? So what's the true marker of the identity? It's the ship of Theseus. Oh, it's such a fascinating thought experiment.
But then this is where Ava, I think, can come in, like you were saying, X-Force. She can now be the support for Sara and help her work through this if there's not a way that they can fix it or, get her back. So, I mean, you could argue maybe Sara already is going to be somewhat immortal. I mean, she was reborn in the Lazarus pit, and that's supposed to extend your life for who knows how long, all that kind of stuff. So, they never brought back into play. But it does just bring up a lot of possibilities of where this can go. And where I'm happy with this writing and story is that we have asked for the cloning story to come back, and it's come back in full force because they made Sara a clone, and that, I mean, you can't slap us in the face any harder than that, and it brings the cloning full circle. So I'm glad somewhere out there they listened to us to get this back. And it'll be interesting to see. I mean, and then you look at the Avas. There's a lot of Avas here because that was part of the story we wanted to bring back. We went to the future in one episode, found out Ava was a clone. There was a whole bunch of them, and then we left. And it never ever came back to that again. So now we're in another time period, and we're out in space, and here's a whole bunch more Ava clones. And Sara got through to a couple of them, and some of them are and like you said, X-Force, they're worried about each other, and they just saw that Bishop's willing to just kill them all and doesn't care about them. I wonder if that's going to set up some type of clone revolution here, and all the Avas want to get out of there. Well, now what are we going to do? We've got a whole bunch of Avas that all want to be individuals and learn about themselves. Okay, that's a storyline that we could follow, but what does that do to Sara? Like, you've got a whole bunch of the women that you love running around, and they're all... Is it like identical twins when they look exactly the same, but they have different personalities? Probably. That's probably more what it's like. And you fall in love with one, but the other one's too quirky for you, so you don't like that one. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll get to some of that in my favorite scene, but anyway.
This was fascinating. The final 2 minutes, boom, love it.
Yeah. So before we get to the favorite scenes, we finally get Gary back, and he has been squishing up through all of the sewer lines trying to find a way out, and he finds fuel cells, and it was just gross to think about, but at least we did get some Gary this episode. So
yeah, I was just wondering where Gary was. I'm like, whatever happened to him? He just like completely disappeared.
They never showed him leaving. Yeah.
No, yeah. And so I liked that we, finally got that answer of, oh, hey, here's Gary. He's just been scouting out Bishop's place all throughout the sewers. So gross. Oh.
So especially when he comes up and wants to give her a big hug. I just laughed. I was like, oh my God. I mean, that's good. That answers where he's been, but we haven't had a lot of Gary, and so it was funny. It was funny. It was gross, but still pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then when they're like, she's like, just go back in and find. I thought, oh, how are they going to do this? How are they going to show him going in the toilet? Because there's a pretty neat camera trick to show him crawling out of it. But how are they going to show him going in? And then it was just a magical effect as he transforms. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, even just filming that sequence, he's in a toilet somehow, crawling out of it. I don't think any of us ever want to be in that situation. That actor goes to no lengths. Yeah, it's funny.
That was good.
All right, well, you guys ready to do favorite scenes then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shape out and eagle.
All right. Chronological order as usual, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That means I'm first this time. And this one is called Sarah's Different, and it's a Mick scene. And I loved listening to Mick because Kayla was kind of putting the human race down. And then Mick actually started, he's like, well, yeah, like that's how we are. But Sarah's different. I loved what he had to say here. I'll play the clip and then we can talk about it.
You humans are stupid. It was inevitable you'd be the authors of your own extinction. Wait, you don't defend your species?
No. They're cowards, liars, cheats, frauds. They betray you, lock you up. Sarah's different. That's why I have to bind her.
Simple like that, but I love that Mick just... It's neat that he's expressing how much he cares about Sarah, because we don't really see that throughout the show's history, but when push comes to shove and someone's life is on the line, now it comes out of him, and he's going to save Sarah at all costs. It doesn't really matter, and I think that's a cool aspect to Mick's personality that is coming out through this storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. And Flash, I knew you were going to choose this one, so that's why I chose a different scene. I was like, I'm going to leave that one because I know Flash likes that scene, is going to like that scene. I'm going to leave it for him.
Totally. Yeah.
And here I thought we'd all be fighting over my scene.
Cool. Well, you're up next, X-Force.
So I call this one Gary and the Council of Avas. So
Yes.
Let's take a listen and let's talk.
You're the most remarkable woman I've ever met. The Ava I know, she's a great leader, has amazing hair, just like you, and still has time for her one true pairing, Sara.
Ava's lead? No, Ava's serve.
You don't have to. I served her.
Well, she must be a great leader to have a great servant like you.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the best assistant, but, yeah.
I like this for a lot of reasons. I like just the interaction with Gary and assistant Ava, but it builds on what Sarah's been talking with him about, and Gary adds to that in a different way because they can kind of see themselves maybe in Gary. And what I like is you see that the military Ava was saved by him. He's speaking directly to the assistant Ava, and you see the expression on Nurse Ava remembering what Sara said. And then you get the small little bit of Bishop waiting for the appetizers, and assistant Ava is not bringing them. And so that makes me think, like Flash mentioned earlier, that we're going to have a mutiny there of at least these three, but maybe more. So I like how Sara started it, Gary's adding in, and the Avas are starting to question who they really are. And so I love that little bits that we've seen through the season so far.
Yeah, I just loved him bonding with them. I was like, of course, like Gary worships Ava. Like, this is hilarious. I loved it.
And we also have to give credit to Jess McCallan. She's getting to express herself. She's playing all these different variants of herself, and they're all just a little bit different, and she's having fun with it, and she's doing a good job too. So way to go, Jess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Harley, finish it off.
All right. I picked the scene we've all been waiting for. We've all been talking about Sarah's Scar speech.
How are we gonna start fresh?
I don't start fresh. Now see, this is what you got wrong about me. Every scar on my body is a memory, a lesson that I learned in blood. And it's what makes me who I am. And I don't forget any of it. Now, we've both faced death. We've both died before. The difference is, I learned from my scars, and you've just forgotten yours.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how do you not like that scene? Sarah always, she's just grown so much as a character through this show, and I love that she gets to have these moments to, tell us that.
Definitely.
It was good. I mean, we've talked the scene to death, so I don't have much else to say, but I wanted to hear the speech one more time.
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff. That's fun stuff for Sarah there. I'm curious to see where it goes now for her, now that she has that revelation. What's her first reaction going to be? Because we see her pull the blanket back, and that's it. I want to see what comes of that, her first reaction and where she goes. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's find out what our feedbackers had to say. I'm curious because I haven't listened to our feedback, but I just saw people did not like this reveal. They did not like this twist. So I'm kind of curious where it lands on that. So let's get to that. All right, let's kick it off with an email from Daryl. I will read this one. He says, Captain Sharp has a nice ring to it, and I love her face when Nate asks about wedding bells once they rescue Sara. I love Gary's very accurate description of Ava. Sara looks incredible in that dress, but she should only dress up like that for her lady, not lame man bun Bishop. No one has ever accused Mick of being smart. It's a real shame his intelligence is so overlooked on the show with the other characters, and I don't like that final twist at all, in capitals. There you go. Told you. One person not happy.
Daryl not happy with the twist. Oh man, it was shocking. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks that they do not use Mick's intelligence. And again, it just because it's the writing. All the characters just treat him as who they see him as, and but I like that's why we liked Zari 1.0 with him, because she saw him for who he was, and they were developing a friendship, and now that's gone.
Yeah.
All right, next up is Perry White.
Hello, Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11. It's your intrepid reporter friend Perry White here with feedback for Legends of Tomorrow's Bishop's Gambit. Let me go ahead and get my rating out of the way. I'm going to give this episode 8 Gary being used as a toilet bowl plunger out of 10. It had, for me, the perfect mix of humor. It had really nice touches of heart to a degree. Obviously, it had a nice twist there at the end, which I didn't necessarily see coming. So it had a lot of the elements that you want to see in a sci-fi TV show. First, let's just go ahead and start with the Sarah Lance revelation. I can't say that I saw this one coming at all. I mean, obviously, when Bishop gave her that elixir that apparently saved her life, I mean, I thought it was boom, bam, bip. I thought that was it. Didn't have any reason to believe that there might have been anything more to it than that. But of course, we get the revelation that our Sara is a clone now, and it opens up so many questions about morality and mortality and spirituality and just sort of what it all means. Are we, like Bishop said, are we just sort of like a sort of a grouping of chromosomes and DNA and neurons firing that create memories, or are we more than that? what about our souls and all that good stuff. And I mean, those are topics and issues that are worthy of discussion, and we get those here in this episode of Legends of Tomorrow, or at least that's what this episode had me sort of leaving out with, and I think that's good television. So yeah, kudos to them for that. Let's see, what else did I really enjoy and appreciate about this episode? I like the sort of build up with the Ava clones, as it sort of dealt with, particularly when they sort of when Nurse Ava was starting to really sort of see how Bishop really thought of them. And I think the words that Sara had said to her in the last episode were starting to resonate. And I think we're going to start seeing an awakening with the Ava clones. And so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. One of the other things that I really liked about this episode, if you are of a certain age, you remember when MTV sort of started the reality television craze. And it started with a little television show called The Real World. And back then, there seemed to be much more reality in reality television. And so,
so true.
With that as a backdrop, it was just really fun to see our legends hanging out in John's house, and sort of the domesticity that they were trying to sort of get accustomed to. And it was just fun to see. I don't think that our heroes always have to be out saving the world. Sometimes it's just cool to see them hang out together and interact with each other in a big house, and all of their egos clash and sort of their personalities clash, and sometimes that's just fun to watch. But obviously, one of the bigger sort of storylines when they were in the house was the fact that obviously Constantine was without his powers, and I just assumed that this would have been a situation where everyone would know that he no longer had his powers. But now going back and thinking about the episode, obviously only he and Astra were fully aware of what happened at the time, and obviously they have decided to keep it a secret, and I'm pretty sure, like this won't come back to bite them in the ass, right? I don't think you would think that everyone would learn from, hey, keeping secrets to either quote unquote protect yourself or to protect other people is a terrible, terrible idea. And so I'm pretty sure that will pan out, if not in the next episode, then in the episodes to follow. So we'll see. I also liked obviously not having Mick in the last episode. It was really nice to see him get to have a good bit of narrative in this episode. He and Kayla, who are really great together. If it's just me, I would not mind having maybe a 2 or 3 episode arc with Mick and Kayla just out doing space adventures, man. I think that'd be fun. But obviously we also got the moment that I think Mick has been waiting for probably his entire life, and that is to sort of get it on with an alien warrior woman. I thought that was really fun, particularly when Kayla's tentacles smacked up against the glass. If you didn't have sort of a callback to the Titanic scene with Rose and Jack in the car, that's certainly the first thing that popped into my head. Yes. So, long story short, like I said, I really liked this episode. I thought it was fun. It had some really good elements that I appreciated. The other mystery that I think we're starting to get a little bit more light shed on is obviously Spooner, and obviously her sort of alien connections. And I really like the way that they're sort of teasing her arc and sort of giving us a little bit of bits and pieces of what's going on with her. I think we're probably going to get to the point when we realize that she is some sort of alien human hybrid or something along those lines. I think it's been a really interesting and well done arc, to be honest with you. So I'm really liking it, and I really dug this episode. I look forward to hear what others have to say about it. It's Perry White meeting his deadline one more time. I'll try to keep it up. I'm out.
All right, we're 1-1 then. He actually really liked it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I liked his feedback. He had a lot of good points. I loved the real world reference. Hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Made me laugh.
Good stuff, Barry White. All right, next up is Dreamweaver.
Hello, Flash Harley and X-Force 11. Dreamweaver here, leaving feedback for Legends, Episode 6, Bishop's Gambit. And I, once again, have a lot of mixed feelings about what happened in this episode. The one shot in the very beginning of Constantine walking through his house was cool, but it also kind of highlighted one of the problems that Legends has had this season, and that it feels like they have no idea what to do with these characters right now. It felt off and kind of ambling, as the Legends have been so laid back and have no sense of responsibility or urgency. I know they didn't have the Waverider this episode, or at least for part of the episode, so they have to camp out at John's, but it feels like Ava and Spooner are the only ones trying to move the story along. They were all just hanging out and literally watching TV eating snacks. Too much goof going on, not enough emotion or good storytelling with progression. Characters are supposed to drive the plot in action, not just be reactionary to it. It's been so much shtick this season that it never should have been. Mick was right a few episodes back when he said that nothing works without Sara. I wanted to see more of Kayla and Mick traversing space on the Waverider together too. It feels like they just skipped all the good stuff to rush to what we all knew would happen. The build-up wasn't quite there, but I did like their talks on the planet, and Mick sharing the oxygen mask with Kayla, and Mick believing the absolute worst of humanity, except that Sara's different. All this would have been nicer, though, and connect more if we had seen more of them together, instead of seeing a quick resolve to their tension and subsequent connection. The stuff with Amelia Earhart was a bit redundant, but Astra's spell and seeing all the flashbacks through her eyes was a cool effect. Then I guess rip to Amelia Earhart because she's now a full-on alien, which also rip to that alien. The Spooner alien stuff was probably the best part of this episode, besides some of the Mick Kayla moments, and it turned into what felt like an Aliens homage there on the dark ship. And I'm going to claim some of my Spooner theories that she's actually an alien or repressed alien hybrid, because there's no way she can't be at this point with what they showed us. And, okay. So the ending. Sure, you can say it was good use of landing the 1-2 punch with the alien revealing she killed Sara to the team, Ava's reaction, and then pulling the rug out from under us and revealing to Sara that Sara is dead. I will admit, in terms of storytelling and plot twist use, from a filmmaking perspective, that was all good and well executed. From a fan's perspective, though, I did not like that ending at all. I mentioned last week about Sara's storyline feeling disrespectful, but now I'm even beyond that. I just feel angry. I even waited until Monday to record this to try to look at this a bit more thoughtfully, not just react after the episode, but I'm still heated. They've, for a few years now, have made Sara dying a bit of a running gag, but if they are making this permanent in how she actually died, because of some flimsy side character and this dopey antagonist, I'm sorry, but to that I have words that I can't say on this podcast. Stomps on all of her character development over the years and feels like a throwaway to have a creepy cliffhanger. Sure, they've been making a big deal about explaining and showing what makes you, you, and even highlighted that throughout this episode with the cloning talk, and you could argue this is the same Sara that we've always known, just with a new body, but it just doesn't feel right to me. If you're going to build up a character like this, put them through everything they have been through, and then have that as their end. I'm sorry, but that's just a disrespectful death, in my opinion. Now, I still think this could be Bishop playing mind games with Sara, because to me it feels like he let her go too easily and wanted her to see this, and maybe this is just me theorizing so I feel better, but I'm really, really hoping this isn't the full story and we're not living with a Sara clone from now on, because if that's the case, then to the writers...
Well, if that's the case, then here you go.
I was really excited about this season, and now I don't know. Aside from the premiere in episode 4, it's been really disappointing. I'm really not sure how I'm going to feel about the rest of the season. I've now got kind of a sour taste in my mouth if this is where we're at moving forward. You know, I do it to myself. I set too high of expectations for things going into them and then get disappointed when they're not met. I hope I'm not grumpy about it, but no promises. That's all for now. Your friend, Dreamweaver.
Oh, Dreamweaver, I feel you. Don't worry. And you are welcome to express whatever you are feeling here on the show. But she brings up a good point. The fact that if this is how Sara's going to die, that she dies because of some wacky off-world alien virus thing, like that makes absolutely no sense. It does not jive with Sarah's story and her character and where they are at this point. And I have to agree with her on that actually is a really lame way to get rid of our Sarah Lance that we've had all these years, considering what she's gone through. So I give her, I will definitely agree with her there. What was the other thought I had about her feedback? Now I lost my train of thought there, but anyway. Other than your timing with your music and everything is just priceless. You got me laughing so hard. That's some great stuff. But yeah, I wish I could remember what else I was thinking. It was something along the lines of her losing, faith in their writing and the way this show is deciding to go. It's tough.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a mixed bag because we've got these characters that we love, and we're asking the question: if they change them, are they really the same characters that we fell in love with? It's we went through that with several characters and seeing the change. We've talked about Nate, and we like when he's getting back to his roots and not being bro Nate, and I agree. I want to see some consistency and some just depth there. So,
well, doesn't it make you wonder? Nate is a perfect example. Nate comes in, everyone loves him. Oh, great historian! He's nerdy about history, all this stuff, and obviously they're seeing the fanfare, the feedback, and all that stuff. Why would you change it? Oh my God, we got a good thing here. Well, let's keep going. Why would you change it when the fans are loving it? That doesn't make any sense to me, and they've done that many, many times with a few of the characters. So,
yeah, I don't know.
They did it to Ray. They made him yo, bro, instead of the smart science guy that was fixing things and figuring things out for us. They changed him too. So,
yep.
I don't know, but I'm sorry, Dreamweaver, that you are at this turning point of deciding whether you're going to like the show for the rest of the season or not. So. We'll see what happens, but always awesome to have all our feedbackers with us, guys. The rest of you, we're still waiting on you to see what you guys think, because, we're always curious what your thoughts are. So to do that, listen to this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Alrighty, that wraps it up. Actually, maybe I do remember that the other thing that she made me think of is cloning is... It's a hot topic right now, right? Like, it seems to be everybody is doing clones. Everyone's, we got Star Wars, we got the Legends, and there's another show that just did it recently. So maybe it's just feeling too much. Everyone's kind of doing the same thing. I don't know. They got to be inspired. They got to come up with something new, something different. Put a new twist on it, and we'll see what's going on. I don't know, crazy stuff. But if you guys aren't watching Star Wars: The Bad Batch, we had a good episode this week. Holy cow! Well, I guess it was the Friday episode, but yeah, boy, if you're connected to the Clone Wars storyline and all the characters, they brought a beloved character back into this one, and it was a good story. So check that out. Mandalore is on pause right now because Vizsla is out in Disneyland, actually being in Star Wars land right now. So, alrighty, guys. Well, that's all I got for you this week. This is The Flash signing off.
This is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.